This is an African Mbuna cichlid. These are pretty much saltwater fish that have been trapped in Africa's largest freshwater lakes, Lake Malawi, Lake Victoria, and Lake Tanganyika. These fish are known for being very beautiful. They come in almost every color, they are very smart fish, and usually active all day, and as a result, they are some of the most popular fish in the aquarium hobby. In fact, these are the fish that I chose for my first aquarium. But anyone who's kept Mbuna cichlids know that these fish have a dark side. These fish have a reputation of being very aggressive. They are extremely territorial, especially towards conspecifics. These fish also develop a hierarchy, which they take very seriously. They spend most of their day gaining or reassuring their status by chasing rivals, nipping at fins, or even brawling when necessary. Because these fish live such complex lives, and because they're so popular, we kind of have these unwritten rules for keeping Mbuna. Rule number 1. You must keep rocks in your tank to mimic the natural rocky bottom of Lake Malawi, where these fish originate from to make them feel safe. Rule number 2, you must keep them in water with a high pH to mimic Lake Malawi's water parameters. Rule number 3, these fish are algae eaters, so you must feed them a strict herbivore diet. And the most important rule is that these fish are very aggressive, almost too aggressive for any other fish, so you can only keep them with other Mbuna cichlids. I broke almost every one of these rules with the Mbuna cichlids in this tank. So first off, I didn't want Mbuna in this tank. This male and his two sisters are in here because years ago this used to be an Mbuna tank. They were great, but I wanted to change the theme, so I caught all the fish and moved them to a different tank and started over, or so I thought. Mbuna cichlids are mouth brooders, and mature females are very successful at reproducing. On top of that, newborn Mbuna cichlids are very smart and will stay hidden until they're big enough to fend for themselves. So I thought I caught all the Mbuna out of the tank, but they were baby stowaways, and now they are adults. This tank was set up for my Bala sharks, which are a much larger free-swimming group of fish that prefer open space, so rule number 1 of creating a rocky habitat wasn't going to happen. Instead, I have driftwood and a few large rocks scattered. In the wild, the Mbuna rely on rocks to hide from predators, but there are no predators here. The dominant male Mbuna does like to stay under the cover of the driftwood, but it's not as secure as a pile of rocks would be, and is too open to defend, so I think it cancels out his urge to be territorial. Don't get me wrong, he does chase fish away from certain areas of the tank, but from what I've witnessed, it's not consistent, and it really only happens when he's in the mood to mate with the females in the tank. The next common rule for keeping Mbuna cichlids is that they need a high pH, between 7.6 and 8.5, which is also why it's not recommended mixing other non-African cichlid fish that don't share the same pH requirements. Luckily for me, I'm in a city, and my tap water's pH comes out at 7.6, so I don't make any adjustments. The other fish in the tank just so happen to be very adaptable to pH levels and are comfortable as long as I don't go too far above 8.0. If you can match your tank's pH level with what these fish naturally experience in the wild, that's great, and the fish will probably be a bit more comfortable. However, the reality is that if these fish were born in captivity, they probably never experienced those naturally high pH levels that their ancestors experienced in the wild. Unless you have naturally high pH well or tap water, raising the pH can be too expensive for large-scale breeders, so most of the time they just use their tap water, which in most cases isn't as hard as Lake Malawi's water. Not to discourage you from replicating natural parameters, just know that these fish have been adapted to live in more common aquarium parameters. Anyone who's done research on Mbuna cichlids definitely came across a source saying that they are algae eaters and must be fed a strict diet of spirulina and algae. I do treat my fish to veggies a few times a week, but I also don't neglect the protein needs of the rest of the fish. I feed Hikari sinking cichlid gold and fluval bug bites, and the Mbuna enjoy their fair share. It's true that for Mbuna, algae is a major portion of their wild diet, however, it's not their complete diet. Different Mbuna have different dietary practices. Some are insectivores, some rely on zooplankton, and some are opportunists and will eat fish eggs or even small fish. Not saying that you can feed Mbuna anything, these fish are prone to bloat, so diet is very important, but if you're going to do research, try to dig as deep as you can to understand the specific needs for the species you keep. Finally, the main rule that I broke is mixing Mbuna cichlids with non-Mbuna fish. Not only are these Mbuna living with non-Mbuna fish, but they're living with fish that are generally peaceful. Bala sharks, clown loaches, tiger barbs, roseline sharks, and rainbow fish. With Mbuna, most people choose to fight fire with fire, only mixing Mbuna cichlids with other Mbuna, or fish that are known for being just as aggressive, This does work. You end up with a tank where everyone is hyped up and vicious, but it all kind of miraculously balances out. And in this tank, I did the opposite. I have 3 aggressive Mbuna Cichlids mixed with relatively peaceful fish, and it's working out pretty well. During the time of filming this video, the male was trying to seduce the females, and Mbuna males are not gentle lovers. They can be pretty aggressive when they spawn, so this male was more aggressive than he normally would be, but in the height of his aggression, the most that he does is chase a fish that gets too close. And it's not a consistent chase. The other fish are non-confrontational, so the moment he shows them any negative attention, they move, and you can tell the other fish aren't too bothered by him because they swim right next to him as if nothing happened. If these fish were afraid of the Mbuna, they would avoid him as much as they could. The Mbuna doesn't attack the other fish simply because he doesn't see them as a threat. They are not competition to his dominance or to his breeding rights, so he has no problems with them. I'm actually shocked that he doesn't see the rainbow fish as competition, being that they show similar colors, but these Mbuna Cichlids are very smart, and I'm sure that he doesn't get bad vibes from them. The only fish that receive all of his aggression are the 2 females in the tank, which again are his sisters. That's why you never see them swimming freely. If they come out of hiding, he tries to mate with them, and if they refuse, he attacks them. Now, I'm not making this video to convince you to keep Mbuna Cichlids with peaceful fish. This combination worked with this individual Mbuna, but I've kept other Mbuna that would destroy every other fish in the tank just for fun. If there's any takeaway from this video, is that these Mbuna Cichlids are very smart fish, and they are very adaptable. It's easy to see the personality of my Central and South American cichlids because we keep them in different scenarios, giving them the opportunity to show how they respond to different situations. With Mbuna, it seems like it's in stone. You can only keep them in dedicated African cichlid tanks, and that's why we've only known the savage side of these fish. I'm keeping mine in a less hostile environment, and I'm discovering that these fish have a not so violent side. Now, this guy's an adult, but he could grow up to twice the size he is now. He could change and become a tyrant, which will lead to him being expelled from the tank, or he could remain as chill as he is. This tank is an experiment, but isn't all fish keeping experimental? I think if we really want to know more about Mbuna Cichlids, we have to give individuals the opportunity to stand out, and I'm starting with this guy. So let me know what you think about this Mbuna in my community tank. Is this the way to unlock the full personality of these fish, or am I making a mistake? Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.